On this week's episode of the Going Deeper podcast, we are talking secular music. What's up, Fathom Church? Welcome to the Going Deeper podcast. These are episodes that we just like to have conversations about certain topics, hopefully to help you go deeper in your relationship with God. I'm in our podcast studio lounge room with no windows with our missions minister, Karina Bost. Hello, Karina.
Hello.
And our lead pastor, Chris Martin. Hello, Christopher.
Buenos dias, senor.
Buenos dias. Hey, we're talking secular music this week. A good one that we have a lot to say.
I mean, I've talked about
about
my experience with this in the church, right? Like in sermons. Have you remember this illustration?
Your
Yeah.
CD burning.
Yeah, like CD burning kind of stuff.
Well, okay, let's start. What do we talk about when we talk about secular music? For
Okay,
those that
yeah,
are
well,
like,
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know what the heck
I mean,
that
so-
is.
So there's music, right? And
Glad we covered that. Good
Yeah,
job.
There's music.
There's music. It's,
Define
music,
music.
rhythm
Okay.
and harmony
There we
and
go.
melody. Now, yeah.
That's great.
So, I mean, at least in the last 40 years, 30 to 40 years, I don't know. I don't even know how far to go back on this, but the argument or the battle has been, is it okay for Christians, for born again Christians, those who have surrendered their life to Jesus, to consume music with messages that are either neutral or anti-Christian, right? So secular music is weird to even talk about because music cannot be born again, right? Like,
Right.
I think it has more to do with the messaging of the lyrics and or the personal stances of the artist
Right.
that tend to get branded either Christian or secular. Now, the advent of CCM, contemporary Christian music, which is again another 40-year venture, 50-year venture, changed things because all of a sudden there were songs that were explicitly about Jesus, but they were not created uniquely for congregational consumption. So up until a certain point, Christian music was what you sang in church. It was hymns,
Yep.
right? And then there became this popular movement of let's create songs about Jesus, about Christianity, about Christian things for Christians to enjoy and to consume and to listen to, that is not necessarily, worship or, congregational singing by nature. So you get, the Amy Grants of the world and the Newsboys, and you start to see this revolution of contemporary Christian music in genres that vary and normally parody genres of non-Christian music. And so the debate in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, and that probably still occurs today, is should Christians listen to secular music or should Christians only listen to Christian music, branded Christian music on Christian radio or Christian, Spotify playlists or whatever it might be. So I get saved when I'm 16. I go to this youth group, and one of the first things they're doing is there's a big poster on the wall. Literally at the youth group I went to, there's this big poster that had like secular bands on one side and then like a counterpart on the other side, like of a Christian band. So it was like, do you like Blink-182?
Oh, it's like who you should check out?
You should check out Reliant K. And legit, there was a poster in my youth group that had that.
That's great.
But then level that up, I was at a youth gathering where they said, hey, we're doing a CD swap next week. And I was like, what is a CD swap? And you could bring your secular CD and I think that there was like here's how they made it work financially. There was like a used CD store, which is all of this sounds so antique because
let's go back and say, what are CDs?
But you could bring like 3 CDs and you could trade them for one Christian CD at my youth group. And so literally people would like bring their CDs in, and then the youth pastor would take those, trade you, and then go and sell those at the used store to then fund the next round of CDs. So, I mean, crazy stuff. But then the craziest one was, there are some that the youth minister didn't want to get back into circulation. And so then we would burn those CDs, and there was a CD burning. And the joke I always make is that's where I got my first copy of Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, because it was like, and I just pocket this one. I want this one. But it's like, that's the premise of the question.
Okay.
Should Christians only listen to Christian music, edifying, uplifting music? Or is it okay for Christians to consume secular music? And then the wild card is, what about instrumental music? But we don't need to go into that.
Oh my goodness.
Karina, let's get just your kind of background with music, or like, is this like growing up in the church? Is this something that was like prevalent that you had? Did you have CD burning nights, or what were your thoughts on like secular music?
We did not have CD burning nights. Dang. I don't know what kind of youth group Chris went to.
I know,
but
man.
I'm just kidding. No, I was in a Christian household with a pastor for a father. So we did not have secular music in the house. Well, that's not true. I shouldn't say that. We didn't have certain CDs in our house because that would be like, we didn't want to explain to my dad why we owned them. So we just borrowed them from our friends. That was a thing.
There you go.
This is why CDs were great, because you could sit on the bus and pass your CDs around, and you didn't have to own all the music.
So you were just underhandedly shady.
I was underhandedly shady.
Okay.
That was my gig.
Yeah.
So it's like I knew I shouldn't be listening to it, but I wanted to listen to it anyways. And so, I was underhanded. I'm sneaky.
I mean, same kind of. Although
you poor repressed Christians.
I mean, it wasn't like my parents, they didn't like ban like non-Christian CDs. And I have 2 older siblings too. And so I'm just going to throw them all under the bus. So all my non-Christian stuff I got from my brother, which is not true. But yeah, it was just like, we didn't really like go out buying the non-Christian CDs. But I specifically remember a time where I was on a middle school mission trip. We were driving in the 15-passenger vans, a couple of them, across the country, and we were allowed to bring music, our little like Walkman CD players, with our sleeves of CDs that we would bring, and we would kind of pass them around, and we would exchange like CDs, that kind of stuff. And I must have missed the last meeting before where the youth pastor said secular music is not allowed. Like, you're only bringing, if you want to bring your music, you're bringing your Christian CDs and everything like that. I must have missed that one. And I really did. I'm not just saying that I was going against what my youth pastor said. I missed that meeting. So I was like listening to my Green Day CD, and I got in trouble for it because my youth pastor was like, we're not supposed to have that. Like, put it away. And he didn't make me burn it or anything like that. But yeah, so I mean, growing up in a Christian home, I mostly had like I grew up listening to worship music, and then once it kind of turned into like, oh, I could listen to some alternative stuff that was like some POD or something that was Christian kind of. It was like I loved that kind of stuff, and so but as I got older, it was kind of that like that temptation for sure was there of like, oh, there's like, this band is coming out with a new CD. I really want it, but maybe my parents might not want me to have that. But yeah, so it was like, we knew what secular was and which artists and bands and all that kind of stuff were considered secular. But I think back then for us and like for my family and friends, everything, that the secular kind of stuff, it didn't make like a huge impact. It wasn't something that we really thought about, like, oh, we probably shouldn't be listening to this because it's not Christian music. We were just like, it's fine. It's just, I mean, they're not saying any bit. Like, we really didn't have CDs that were like curse words all the time. So we were like, no, so then this is fine. So we were kind of like, I was kind of like in the middle a little bit, but yeah, so this is, I think this is a really good question. And I think it definitely goes deeper than just should we or should we not, like, is it okay for us to listen to secular music? It's kind of deeper than that, because there's also that, like, what about those middle kind of things of like, well, this music is not too bad. So Chris, your initial thoughts on secular music and what kind of goes into this conversation that we should be thinking about more than just
Yeah.
like the music, the songs that we're listening to.
Yeah. So I'll start with, and we talked a little bit before we got on the record here, but I'll start with what I said, which is, I think we are far more influenced by what we see and what we listen to and what we consume than we even are aware of or are willing to admit. I think we said this when we talked about scary movies. We've talked about watching different shows and movies and like rated R and all that kind of stuff. I think we are highly, highly, highly manipulated emotional creatures. And this is why the algorithms are crushing our souls on social media, is because they know how to work us. And so I think that the first piece to at least acknowledge is that music does affect you. It just does. It just does. But then I want to pass the ball to you, Karina, because you talked a little bit before we recorded about the uniqueness of music. So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. The one thing when I was kind of researching and studying for this is I think music impacts us on a deeper level, because if you start talking to people about music, they're like, oh, I love this song. It just really moves me. Or like, I got to have my jams. I can't make it through the day. Or like, hey, I was in a bad mood and I really needed to listen to this song. So I think music speaks to us on a deeper level, almost like we can spiritualize it than any other like media outlet.
Yeah, which is weird to think about. It's almost spiritual, right? But it's like, yeah, it speaks to me. I love that song. It lifts my spirits. That song moved me. It changed me. It changed my life, right? I saw that band play that concert and it changed me, right? So like that's anecdotal, but it's also biblical. I mean, we are commanded to sing a song, to play music as a form of worship. It's not, and I said this, I've said this before, we're not just asked to rotely recite poetry or creeds. We're not just information. Like I even say about preaching, like people don't leave our church on Sunday mornings humming my sermon to themselves. But you're singing theology as you're getting in your car, or as you're humming those things. And those are the things that this is why if you have been a Christian for a while and you hear an old song that you sang in church maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, and it immediately brings it back, or you flip open to like a psalm and you read a line and you're like, oh, not to us. Like you pick up whatever that was, that song that it's because it's linked almost. And I challenge us in that way. It's not just it influences you, it also marks you deeply. So you play a song from when you were in high school and it'll whisk you back there and elicit emotions and feelings that sometimes are irrational. You'll think about that person you were dating. You'll think about that time you got in trouble. You think about that classroom or that season or your house or wherever you were when you experienced that. And it'll almost rush back amplified at a level that would cause, like I've heard this, it would cause you to make irrational decisions. I mean, you ever wonder why people get back together with their high school crush? It's because there's irrational ties through adolescence, specifically around music. I mean, I'm serious, guys. Like music is a dangerous thing. It's a wonderful thing, but it can also be very dangerous. So I think you're absolutely right. There is something unique about music that if we don't at least heed the warning involved there, we could be entering into a place where you're playing with a loaded gun.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that, like, as you were saying all those things, I'm like, yeah, there's just so many times in my life, like, especially the, like growing up in a Christian house in the church, when I hear like old school, like hymns and that kind of stuff, that it takes me back to that camp and where I was and the emotions that I was feeling then. And which is great. It's like, that's awesome to do with it. But then sometimes in my head, I'm going, oh, like, I haven't felt that way in so long. Why haven't I felt like that? And it really does do something in your brain, like positively and negatively, of like, remember this. And so, there, it is very, like, as much as I, even before I hit record, I was like, you know what, like, it's music, it's not the same as like movies or stuff that we see or whatever that, but it totally is, because so much of what we hear brings us to something or makes us feel some certain way.
Yeah. It has a lot of power for good.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it does. Like I can listen to, and I do this at times. I'll listen to 90s Christian music that came out right when I became a Christian, and it'll bring me back, and I'll remember like the feeling of zealous excitement of being a new believer. Like it still will whisk me back there. And it will at times stir my affections for the Lord. And I'll just be like, man, this makes me want to love Jesus more. Like it's good. And then there's also this toxic nostalgia that it can pull up in you that will lie to you about realities that were not true, but it'll whisk you back, and it's it can be dangerous. So I just think off the bat, music is powerful. So we better acknowledge that. Now, whether we should listen to Christian music or secular music, let's just acknowledge that all music is going to do this kind of stuff to us.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever watched a movie without the music, but if you want to know how
can
music
you do that?
Yeah, on YouTube, you can do pre-cut edits or whatever, and it's just the dialogue. No movie you've ever seen is the same.
Oh gosh,
without the music.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I'm sure it's just terrible.
Yeah,
like Star Wars without John Williams isn't Star Wars.
Nope.
Yeah,
and you talked about just instrumental too.
That's
like
but
that
yeah,
is
like that's
just instrumental.
But like that will bring you right back.
It does.
Yeah, it stirs emotions. There's music is powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about let's talk about this kind of debate, this question on secular music. Is it good or bad? As Christians, should we be partaking, knowing that we are very highly influenced, easily influenced by music, especially? What does this bring us? Because here's the fear, I think, is if we're sitting here saying, okay, well then there's Christian music, there's music that is glorifying to God, that has words from Scripture, that whether we sing it on a Sunday morning or we're listening to it in our car, that even influences us and puts us in a place of like meditating on Scripture, of who God is, He has created us to be, what He's done for us, all those great things. And then there's the secular music that, whether it does the opposite or not, like in words, and it's like really bad, like terrible stuff, or it's just not glorifying to God. What happens? And this is where I'm going with this, is where, like, how I feel like we need to be careful to not like fall into legalism of like if it doesn't say these words or whatever, then you better not, or else. Where should we fall in this? Is there a gray area? Like, is there an area? Is this one of those things that's like, well, it's just up to each person on how they are influenced? Or is this like hey, this is kind of black and white. You can't be doing this. And then what happens if we do like just get sucked into something that we're like, this isn't bad or whatever? Like that kind of legalism piece is in my head now of like,
yeah.
Yikes.
So I think there's a lot of things to consider in this. One is, and first we should say, this is an open-handed issue. Like, I think we can just comfortably say that this shouldn't be a legalistic, yes or no. It's not a black or white. There is some gradient, but with all open-handed issues, we must exercise wisdom. Okay. So here, I was a youth pastor for 10 years. You were a youth pastor for a long time, Kyle. Here's the Christian kid comeback, okay, to the parent or to the youth pastor who's like, you shouldn't be listening to that. Here's the classic comeback. I've heard it 1,000 times. You have to. I don't listen to it for the lyrics.
Right.
I'm just listening to it for the music.
I love the beat.
I just love the beat. I love the rap. I love the rhythm. I love the guitars. I don't listen to it for the lyrics.
Tune that out.
Now that's stupid.
So
okay. So I love you. teenagers, that's dumb. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've said that. We've all said that. Like, that's not a new idea. You are, when you listen to Taylor Swift, you are listening to the lyrics. Okay. So not just music, but lyrics do influence us, the message of a song. And some messages are more powerful than other messages. Absolutely. Absolutely. For good or for ill, they are. But lyrics do matter. So let me just throw some categories of things we should think about. I do think that there are anti-Christian, anti-Christ, anti-ethical lyrics that we should be very cautious of consuming.
Yes.
Okay. I'll just say that. That doesn't just mean if it's got the parental advisory explicit thing on Spotify stuff. I'm just saying there are some things that Christians should be very wary of consuming. I would say that about movies too. I think if it's heavily explicit, there's lots of nudity, if there's lots of gratuitous violence, if there's you just have to be very careful. That doesn't mean you should never, or you're sinning if you ever, but you should be very, very cautious.
And to those that would be like, well, I can just it's not affecting me, or remember that, we've said that, we are weaker than what we like to put. It will influence you no matter
what. And
what.
It doesn't just have to do with lyrics. There are types of music that are meant to stir up aggression. There are types of music that are meant to, let me move away from one into one that's more, maybe would cause more controversy, that are meant to prop up unrealistic ideas about love, unrealistic ideas about romance, unrealistic ideas about a lifestyle, that you just got to be really careful. It may not be explicit, but it may be anti-Christ, anti-Christian, and you just got to be careful. You got to be really careful. That's why I'm worried about blind consumption of things like Taylor Swift, of things like pop music, of things like country music, of things that just prop up. I'm not saying don't listen to those things. I'm just saying turn on your brain.
Yes.
And at least acknowledge that even if you're not paying attention to it, it's still doing something to you.
Yeah.
So I would say the message does matter. That doesn't mean you should never listen to secular music, but you should consider it. And you shouldn't just ignorance is not a good enough excuse. That's my first thought on it. What do you think, Karina?
Yeah, I think we like to justify it as not a big of a deal because music is everywhere. And then you have your favorites and you're like, I don't want to think about the lyrics too much because I know I don't. It's like that deep down, this song is not good and I shouldn't be listening to it. But it's by thinking about it, you're admitting it, and then you have to So I think it has a stronghold over you, and it's just really easy to start justifying. Hey, it's not that bad. But it's you start reading. This is what I over the last few days, I've been reading lyrics and they are a lot worse than you think they are. I was heavily convicted. I was reading some of them and I'm like, you kind of hear bits of pieces or you even hear the whole thing. But when you see it written out, you're like, this is just downright terrible.
Yeah, the justifying piece really that hits home with me, because when I think of just all types of music, whether it's Christian music or secular music, whatever, on this spectrum, I know what I shouldn't be listening to. I know what's I'm not going to listen to some garbage stuff that has a million different cuss words in it and that's talking about all the I know that's bad. But then there's this weird middle where it's for me, my justification for listening to some of these things are oh, it's not that bad. Yeah, it's okay. It says there's that one line. Let's just skip over it. But the rest of it, it's really good. And I can very easily be yeah, but this is I know the guy who's singing it, and he's pretty cool. He's cool. I know he's probably a good guy. Yeah, but there's that one lyric. There's that one verse I don't really like, but everything else is just oh, but but I like this, and this is a great song. And so for me, like it's that weird middle area where I'm like, yeah, it's not that bad as the ones that I know I am not going to listen to. But then there's all the, and again, like you said, Karina, as I listen to like a new song that I like that maybe has that one sketchy verse, like it gets in my head then, and then I'm like humming it around my kids and stuff and all that kind of stuff, and then I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be. I need to actually be aware, because that's now inside my head, and that's a little earworm thing and that's probably not that great. So it's that middle section kind of thing that I justify it as, it's not as bad as the other stuff, and it's not going to affect me.
Yeah. I think, I mean, we've already talked about this, but I just think we are far more influenced than we think we are. So if I listen, okay, let me just talk from me. Okay. If I listen to a bunch of country music, I find, and I like country music.
Country.
No.
Start wearing a cowboy hat.
But I like country music. I enjoy it. But I find myself like, oh yeah, man, like a cold beer and like like I just find myself my affections are I'm not like gonna go out and do something crazy, but they're just tainted by it.
Yes. Yeah.
And I feel like I'm rather well adjusted as a human being. Like, but I'm not. That's what I'm saying. And I've talked with young single guys who are having a hard time finding a girl. And I wonder sometimes, like, what are you listening to? And vice versa. I've met young single gals who are just like in love with Taylor Swift. And I'm like, and they have a hard time finding a guy. And I'm like, well, yeah, listen to what she talks about. And then my daughter loves Taylor Swift but I'm like, I'm listening to this and I'm like, I don't think you should be listening to this.
Right.
And again, like, I don't want to move into legalism because I like a couple of Taylor Swift songs.
Breaking news. Chris likes Taylor Swift.
And yet I still think we got to be real careful. Just real careful. And now let me swing it to the other side too. I think you should be real careful about Christian music you consume too. Okay? Because I've listened to some of the new Christian music that's coming out. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, there's some really bad theology that's being spouted. Health and wealth, prosperity. God's just going to do everything that I want him to, and it's going to be awesome. And listen, you want to, why don't we just tick off everybody? I've already talked country music. I've talked Taylor Swift. Be careful how much Forrest Frank you're letting your kids listen to.
It's like, I know where you're going with this one.
I just, listen, I think he does pretty well, but he is not a theologian who's hammering home perfect doctrine. So don't turn off your brain. And it's what we said about like letting the TV babysit your kids. Don't let Spotify babysit your kids. Don't let Christian music, don't let K-Love babysit your kids. Think these things through. Like, this is our responsibility, is to think to be critical, to be biblical, to think through our worldview, to see things through the lens of the scriptures. I just think we would do well to heed a lot more caution when it comes to the things that we're listening to.
Well, when I think of like how easily influenced we are, like I think of my 9-year-old son and how whenever whether it's he hears like the word God or even Jesus in a song, or he seeing things like somebody wearing a cross, like one of his favorite athletes, it's like an automatic, oh, that person's a Christian. Dad, is that person's a Christian, right? Well, he loves Jesus. Like, look at his cross. And it's like, okay, he does the same thing with music. And some of those, it is a very popular thing now to have kind of these like upbeat, very popular songs that have that talk about Jesus and talk about God. And Austin is like, he hears that and he goes, oh, I love this because this is a Christian song. That's a Christian guy. And I'm like, we just have to be careful because I don't know that guy. Some of the things he's saying is like, oh, okay. And then some of them are like, oh, okay. So it's like, it is a very like, just again, we say this all the time, turn on your brain, listen to these things and listen to what other people are saying about these things.
Yeah. And rewind our minds 5-6 years and you got the Kanye incident. And, and I just think we got to be real careful.
Yeah.
Because what Christians love to do is essentially ceremonially crown whatever artist openly says something about Jesus or openly says that they are a Christian.
Mhm.
Right.
And in some ways they can do no wrong.
Mm.
And again, exercising caution and wisdom is very important in these things.
Mhm.
So I know we've kind of circled around this, but
Mhm.
I don't think that we can definitively say that Christians shouldn't listen to secular music and only listen to Christian music. But I do think we can definitively say that Christians ought to exercise far more wisdom, be far more discerning, especially Christian parents with their children, and trust and prayerfully consider our own just weaknesses.
Mhm.
Yep.
And recognize that we are far more prone to wander than we
Mhm.
think.
Yeah, listen to those internal nudges. Like, if this song's really not great, I shouldn't be listening to it.
Mhm.
Like, that is truth. Like, if you can recognize it in your subconscious and it's poking at you, like, listen to it. I mean, don't listen to the song, listen to your
Yeah,
subconscious.
that's called, and it's also called the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like he lives in you. He
Mhm.
resides in you and he is your counselor. He is willing to help you. Talk to him about these
Mhm.
things. Like I don't know, man. I think it's easy to be like, well, this is an issue for teenagers and this is an issue for 20 somethings. This is an issue for children. I think this is an issue for 40 somethings and 50 somethings and 60 somethings to be like, am I becoming somebody that I really, am I being influenced? Because it's sneaky, man. A snappy tune, a couple of, 3-chord melodies and you can be derailed.
Mhm.
So that might be, people be like, oh, they're pastors, rolling my, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, and I know
Just be
we
careful.
say that about a lot of things, and we get to the end saying like, should you or should you not? That's kind of up to you, but have some wisdom. But really, like this conversation talked about this. I think Karina said this before too. Is like this is convicting. Like this is
Mhm.
convicting to me too. Of like,
Mhm.
oh man, like I really want to. About hopefully, you at least leave listening to this being like, how easily influenced am I with like not just what I see, but what I turn on the radio, like right as I plug in my phone or something like that, or what my kids are listening to in the other room or something like that. I think it's very convicting. It should help us really just pay attention more and be aware of what is going on.
I think the bottom line here is that people should only listen to our podcast
yeah,
on
that's
repeat.
true.
No more music.
No.
Yep. No more Taylor
You
Swift.
already said that the Bible told us to sing, so
You can sing along with us.
Just start singing songs now. Hey, thank you guys for this conversation. This was a good one. Hey, church, if you struggle with this, talk to us. If you have any other things you'd like us to talk about on this podcast, any questions that you might have that you'd like to hear our opinions on, I guess if you really want to hear our opinions on things, thanks for listening and let us know what you want us to talk about. But thank you guys for talking about this. Thank you, church, for listening, and we'll catch you next time.